Hi everyone, welcome to my presentation all about the money. In this video, I will teach you all basic financial basics. Um, Everything from spending to saving to budgeting, some stuff about interest. Um, my name is June, and I am working on my Girl Scout Gold Award for this. I hope you enjoy the presentation. Before we get started, I want to make sure that you guys have opened up these two documents that I've linked down in the description, the monthly income and expenses document and the assessment. You can just hold on to those for now. Of course, the budgeting bean game is something that I'll want you guys to use pretty soon, so have that ready as well. And yeah, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is the objective of my project. Um, so it's very important that we all have this basic idea of what money is, how do we use it, and how can we use it, because when you go off to be independent on your own, it becomes very difficult. My brother, for example, when he went to college, he had so much trouble figuring out what he was going to do when he was getting his house and all this stuff about who's going to pay the utilities, how they pay that. And I'm sure if you guys can just build a good foundation now, that you can avoid so many more conflicts like that in the future when you go out to be independent on your own, because you'll have plenty of other things to worry about. Um, Another thing is that the American Bankruptcy Institute reveals that 90% of people who filed for bankruptcy in 2016 were college students. And if you are unaware, we have a very big national debt. So that means that a lot of people that are, a lot of the contribution of our national debt is due to these college students who have just been thrown out into the world on their own. And I'm hoping that that will not be you after this presentation. Um, yes, so 1 in 5 bankruptcy filings were college students. This down here is the national debt clock. I don't know if any of you guys have been to Times Square, but it basically grows every day, every minute, every second. And right now we're at 22 trillion, but this picture was taken in 2015, so they were 14 trillion back then. But the point is, a great deal of this can be helped through simple education on basic money usage. And hopefully we can all contribute to lowering your national debt. So, it's your money. What are the consequences of being in debt? Well, there's a couple things. So, the first thing, obviously, being forced to drop out of school, not ideal. Okay, lowering your credit score. What a credit score basically is, well, usually people use this thing called the FICO credit score, and it scales you on 300 to 850. And if you have a lower score from, say, 300 to 700, you are a lot less likely to get loans from banks or anyone because they don't trust you as much. They don't trust you to return their money as much. And if you have a score from above 700, they are more likely to give you that money, and that is very important for when you buy a house or make a big purchase for yourself anytime down the road or in your future. Um, and ATM rejection kind of goes along with that. You always want to be able to use an ATM if you need to. Also, the Consumer Finance Bureau reported that people with money they could easily access felt more secure than those who didn't. Obviously, mentally, they felt much better. They felt more confident because they know they're in a good place. And I put a little quote down there that I saw from Alexis Ad. Whoever said money can't buy happiness isn't spending it right, which is true because you can buy plenty of things with money. Um, Money management. So, where we begin, what is the first thing you should do regarding your money? Make a money management plan, for example, a budget. And you can make a budget now. I'll show you guys how to do that. And it's going to be a very important skill for your whole life. So, the things you need to know are your wants versus your needs, plus the income and expenses that you have, and that can help you make your budget. So, what are income and expenses? I'm sure most of you guys already know what this is, but income and expenses. So, income is any form of money received, expenses are any form of money spent. If you can clearly identify these, it will help you formulate your budget. One thing I want to tell you now is the definition of a fixed expense. That is a monthly necessity that you must pay on a schedule, and these expenses do not change when the market changes. So there will always be the same price no matter what happens every month. So just because you will need that for later. So, how do we identify wants versus needs? This is another concept I'm sure you guys are pretty familiar with. So, a want is obviously just a desire, and a need is a necessity and something that you will need to, or it's an essential that you will need to live. So here is a general list of wants and needs that I have. Wants: getting a manicure, eating out, going to the movies, clothes, subscriptions, new cars, anything you're kind of treating yourself to. Needs would be rent, food, groceries, transportation expenses, gas and electric, insurance, oil change, things that you are going to need to get by. Although you must pay for needs, you have some control over what you spend on them. This is because there are a couple ways you can save on needs. For example, if you live in the city and you don't want to spend money taking the subway every day or driving your own car, take a bike. You don't have to pay for gas. You avoid all the traffic. Get some exercise in. Or over the summer, sometimes people, or over the winter, you can cut your electric bill by cutting the AC usage when you're out of the house, or the heating usage when you're out of the house. That saves a lot of money. So although needs are things that you do have to pay for, you got to realize there's always a way to save. We will go over some objects that fall in between a want or a need, depending on who you are. So let's move on here. Here I have a little wants versus needs mix and match. So you guys can pause the video or whatever you want to place these items that I have above the Venn diagram into the Venn diagram in your head or on a piece of paper, whatever you like to do, and kind of decide which one you think is a want, which one is a need, and even some of them might fall in between. So go ahead and do that. Pause the video if you'd like, and this is how I formatted mine. So I said that needs included house, pants, textbook, medicine, and socks. I mean, because you need those things to get around, and you can't really live without them, I guess. I mean, your textbook's pretty important when you go to college. Wants: Rolex, gum, candy, doll, Yeezy Boost 350. Those designer things are always going to be a want. What I thought fell in the middle, depending on who you are, fruit could be a want or a need. Maybe you're allergic. Maybe you like fruits and you need to stop buying them. Maybe you're spending too much money on fruits. The same goes for milk, and a phone. A phone can be a need if you're in a very secluded place. And same with a car. Maybe you need a car to get to work every day if you live way far. So those are things that kind of fall in between depending on who you are. But maybe if you're in the city, you don't need a car. So just have that idea when you're creating your budget. Okay, now we can get into the budgeting part. Budgeting. So why is budgeting important? It allows you to have a better picture of your cash flow, so that way you can prioritize your loans and payments, and you don't fall behind on them and damage your credit score, because that is very big. That is the goal of this presentation, is that you do not go into debt when you do not need to be going into debt. Bring you closer to your long-term financial goal. Okay, we're going to get into that. Helps you maintain your credit score and lets you take control of your money. It's very important that you are in control. If you do not plan or keep track of what you spend and gain, that just makes it easier to lose your money, because you're always spending. We'll get into it when we talk about credit cards in a minute. And although budgets are extremely helpful, that doesn't mean you are completely protected from debt. So always be aware of that. Budgeting. Think of it as a roadmap. Your budget will be adjusted throughout your life because it's going to expand. Of course, you're going to have more expenses when you become more independent and you're going to get a higher paying job. It'll expand throughout your life, and that's okay. But in every ideal budget, your income is going to be greater than your expenses, so you can always have things to spend on for money to save in case an emergency happens, and which is very important in school and when you're working full time and have a family or whatnot. And obviously, you want some money to spend sometimes just to treat yourself, but not too much. So yeah, you definitely want to be able to do those things. Back to the goals. So if you do want to put some of your extra money that you save through budgeting, if you do want to save that, if you do want to save that or you do want to spend that, you got to have a goal, basically like a basic idea what you want to do with that money. Goals differ from dreams because they're specific and measurable. A dream goal could be like, I want to be a millionaire, but a goal is you have it laid out there for you. So I have some example goals on the side: short term, medium term, and long term. So short term, for example, I put less than a year. I want to save up my allowance for 3 months so I can purchase a new pair of AirPods, which is about $100. And if you can post these goals in a place where they can be seen every day, maybe on your mirror when you're getting ready every morning, it really, really helps you stick to that goal. What are some ways you guys motivate yourself to achieve your goals? I mean, you don't have to do the sticky note thing. So that is something that becomes very important when you get into creating your budget, which we will now do. So this is kind of a format that I created for a high school budget. And what it is I have my item, my budget goal, and my amount spent. And then I have a statement that I kind of had similar to what was on my past goals page, that so I'm going to budget my spending on blank to blank per month, so I can use that save money for blank, which is not the last part I put in parentheses because it's not really necessary, but it's good to have a goal to keep you in check. And if you look at your income and expenses sheet, I basically put it all here for you. You can write down your source of income, whether it's a scholarship, a salary, your expense, and then I have right here the statement you can fill out yourself and your own little budgeting chart, because varies for everyone.